223rd Contact Sunday, May 1, 1988, 907 and pages 415-425. Billy says, Dear friend, today, I once again have some questions regarding various things, if you have enough time. Quetzal says there is nothing that would call me back urgently. So therefore, bring forward your questions. Billy says you, as well as Kathein and Semyaza, once played the strange humming sounds of the earth to me through your apparatuses, which I can't perceive in nature, unfortunately, because my hearing sense isn't so sensitive that I could hear these sounds, which should very well be possible for other people. However, as you've explained, the sources of these sounds are very diverse, as your cognition yields, and these or similar sounds should, according to your information, also appear on other worlds as well as on asteroids, comets, meteors, suns, and dark clouds, as well as with cosmic nebulae and even in every black hole, etc. So not only on Earth. All electromagnetic waves, as well as the northern lights and solar winds, etc., belong to these sound sources. You named the sound symphony of the Earth or symphony of the planets as well as symphony of space, which is also entirely incorporated into these sounds, like also the atmospheres of planets and suns and even all material and immaterial things of every kind, concerning which you've spoken of a symphony of the spheres. This symphony, that is these sounds, are, so far, still unknown to the earthly scientists in particular and to the people in general, other than just the exceptions to the rule, even those people who perceive these humming sounds, that is symphony of the earth, and who are of the opinion that something isn't right in their heads, and thus, not that real things are going to and fro. Can you once again officially explain what it actually concerns with these humming sounds, if it shouldn't remain a secret? Quetzal says it does not have to remain a secret because in about 10 to 15 years, a portion of the earthly sciences should also encounter these things. Moreover, it concerns the fact that every planet, every comet, every larger asteroid, meteor, and every sun, as well as the nebulae and clouds in space and space itself, as well as every black hole and all the material and immaterial things existing at all produce certain tones and sounds, which we, as you said, actually call symphony. Within the entire realm of the creation or of the universe, nothing exists that would not be incorporated into these symphonies, so therefore all material and immaterial things vibrationally generate certain tones and sounds and even symphonies, which usually cannot be perceived by the human ear because these move in too low or too high frequencies for this. Only through abnormal, degenerative, physiological changes can these sounds or symphonies be perceived by human life forms, whereby these then become effective in an extremely consciousness-impairing, nerve-wracking, and psyche-damaging manner. The frequencies of these symphonies or sounds reach into all levels, so thus, the lowest sounds, like humming sounds, as you say, are given as well as the highest whirring sounds, etc. As the frequencies are virtually countless in their number, these are also the sources of the sound symphonies, for these relate to all that exists of the material and immaterial. Thus, if one starts from the earth, then these sound sources are, for example, the waters, in terms of the deep sea movements as well as the movements of the waters of the lakes, rivers, streams, creeks, and springs. Even the roar of the waves, the small and mighty storms, the tectonic movements of the earth's interior, the bubbling of magma in the earth, and the eruptions of the volcanoes belong to these, as well as the rain, hail, and the various layers of the atmosphere, which rub against each other, as well as the winds against the trees, grasses, flowers, houses, mountains, sand dunes and deserts, steppes, icebergs, glaciers, and surfaces of ice, as well as against windmills, wind turbines, ships, aircraft, rockets, missiles, and vehicles of all types, against land surfaces and everything else that materially exists. Also to be noted are the voices and sounds of humans and animals, insects, birds, and fish and any other water creatures. All sounds together form the actual symphony of the planet, as we call it. And as this happens in the purely material realm, so this also happens in any immaterial sphere in the entire universe, each of which also produces its own symphony, like also fog flowing on the earth or nebula existing in space and all other formations that are absolutely impossible to cite in their number because everything is so immeasurable that it could neither be grasped by purely human understanding nor by technological possibilities of any kind. Billy says thanks. And since we're already at it, I would like to come to speak again on the black hole of our Milky Way, of which we spoke, if I remember correctly, on the 30th of May, 1987. By its attractive force, we don't simply fly with our solar system uncontrollably out into space, but rather are somehow still held within the Milky Way. There are, indeed, black holes in every galaxy, as you explained, which Semyaza and Pata already said. But in addition to these, there are still the black wanderers, like those of the kind that the Tigers and Zygo, Zurich, Thursday, January 30, 2003 calls black holes, which drift through the cosmos. Pata also said that in this regard, there would be two types, precisely the black holes that drift wildly through the universe and then the others that are galaxy-bound and, thus, draw a certain course in or through a galaxy and its surroundings. And all black holes have an attractive force that depends on size and that reaches up to hundreds or even millions of light years away. And here, I would now like to ask if also with or in our galaxy, such a wandering black hole exists, a galaxy-wandering black hole, so to speak, if I may name this thing in such a way. Quetzal says that is a good designation, which I will include in my vocabulary. Yes, there actually is such a black wanderer or wandering black hole in the realm of your galaxy. Nevertheless, it is a smaller structure than what the actual central black hole of the Milky Way is. But still, it is very remarkable and draws an extensive course through the galaxy, and to be sure, at around 6,400 light-years of distance from the actual center of the Milky Way. In addition to this black wanderer, there are still some other wandering black holes in the nearer and further surroundings of the galaxy, one of which, from time to time, also exerts a determining influence on the planet Venus of the Solar System. Billy says I understand. Then something else, do you know, to what religious persuasion Jmmanuel's parents Mary and Joseph belonged, what this was, and from where the two actually came? Were they actually Nazarens? A pastor, who is very partial to my contacts with you, asked me whether you would know anything about this. Unfortunately, I have never attended to these interests myself and, thus, haven't tried to find out something. Quetzal says the facts about Mary and Joseph are very well known to me, which you know very well, so I do not understand why you present yourself as ignorant in this respect. Billy says I naturally know about your knowledge of the matter. The dumb question is whether you would know the answer. I simply slipped unintentionally. Excuse me, please. Quetzal says I understand. To answer the first part of your question, Mary and Joseph didn't belong to any religious persuasion. They were natives of Tiberias, a place located at the Sea of Galilee at that time. Mary was the daughter of a merchant family from Tiberias, and Joseph was the son of a shipbuilder and carpenter's family, which was also located in Tiberias. And if you still want to have information about the two families, then I can say that Mary had 3 brothers and 4 sisters, and Joseph had 3 brothers and 2 sisters. At the time of Jmmanuel's birth, all siblings and parents of Mary and Joseph were still alive. What is still to be said, but which should also be well known to you, Joseph was not the biological father but rather the foster father of Jmmanuel. The biological father was the extraterrestrial Gabriel. Billy says yes, I know the history relating to this. Well, I once again have a question about the greenhouse effect on Earth, about which we've already spoken several times. In this connection, you said that the glaciers will melt rapidly all over the world, but what about the so-called perpetual snow on the high mountains here in Switzerland, on the Himalayas, and on all high mountains of the world in general? Quetzal says the age-old snow and ice fields of all mountains will also be affected by the great